Before we get into the video, let's just pretend for like the next 22 minutes that this video was not being uploaded 2 months after the event. I've had some life stuff going on, moving, school, grad school. It's been fun, but I've been working on editing this the whole time. So I've put a lot of work into it. I think it's a pretty fun video and all my feelings are still the same. So I hope you enjoy an Apple event recap about 2 months late.
I suddenly have an urge to take up deep sea scuba diving. No reason. No reason. Hi y'all, it's Annelies, and it was Apple Christmas yesterday. Yesterday in my timeline. And if you don't know what Apple Christmas is, that is the day that Apple Santa, aka Tim Cook, bestows gifts upon the children of the world with new product releases and software and such. And yesterday was jam-packed. And I would say it's the most exciting / looked forward to universally Apple Christmas that we have, because it is fondly known as the iPhone event, because September is historically when the new iPhone gets announced. However, this event didn't just focus on the iPhone. Oh no, my sweet child. No, we got so much more than just a new iPhone. We got updates to the Apple Watch, we got a new Apple Watch, we got new AirPods Pro, which I didn't know anybody was expecting, but okay. And then of course, we got the iPhone 14 lineup. But there's so much exciting stuff, we just can't fit it into one video. So in this video, we are talking about Apple Watch and AirPods, and I'm saving the iPhone 14 lineup for a whole other one because there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot to talk about now. So let's go ahead and start with the Apple Watch, because that's where the event started. And I have to say, when it came to like the Series 8 overall, it's very much just like, it's new, and the battery's a little bit better, and it's a little bit faster because it's a new chip, and it's just newer, yay. But we did actually get 2 updates that are pretty exciting coming to the Series 8 Apple Watch, and that is temperature. Do they have a word for it? It's a temperature sensor, and then we have crash detection. So let's talk about temperature sensing first. Temperature sensing, they mainly talked about in regards to tracking your cycle / ovulation. So with the Series 8 Apple Watch, there are gonna be 2 temperature sensors in the body. There's gonna be one kind of closer to your skin, and then one more inside to get the most accurate read and not be like messed up with the outside forces of the weather or what have you. The way that they emphasized it, and kind of the only application they talked about it with, which I feel like just because temperature is a vital, I was gonna say a vital, but I feel like the word vital, you know, nails it on the head. But it's a vital for monitoring this body of ours. I feel like there is going to be future applications to using a temperature sensor. The main focus right now is for tracking your ovulation, because if you're somebody who is looking to track that, knowing your body temperature is a really important metric in being able to track that. So something that they emphasized in the event is that the temperature sensing is only going to work while you're sleeping. So if you wanted to use this feature, you would be having to wear your Apple Watch while you sleep, which I personally never had an issue with, and even with my 4-year-old Apple Watch, it makes it through the night and then a little bit into the day as well. But the reason being is that apparently your veins dilate while you sleep, therefore giving a more accurate read to your body temperature. Something I learned about my body yesterday is that your veins dilate when you sleep. So there's that piece of science knowledge. But that was like the main focus when it comes to this temperature sensor, which like I said, I think this opens the doors for more possibilities in the future. However, if you are somebody who uses cycle tracking and has been looking forward to some sort of ovulation tracking for your family planning purposes, here's this new feature for you. And then the other big update to the Apple Watch, did I already say it? And then we have crash detection. I think I said it, crash detection. Did I mention that? Well, they have crash detection now. Now, crash detection does what it says on the tin. It detects a crash, which if you're familiar with the fall detection, it works in a practically identical way. So if you don't know fall detection with the Apple Watch, let's say you're wearing your Apple Watch and then you're on your merry way, you're going on a walk, and then you trip and you fall. You'll get a little notification on your watch saying, hey, did you fall? Are you okay? And you have 10 seconds to respond. Essentially, if you don't respond within 10 seconds, local emergency services will be notified and sent to you, as well as your location will be sent to all of your emergency contacts. It's a feature that I personally love. And I remember when it was first announced, it was something that I got really emotional about because I have an older parent, and obviously I want to protect her any way that I can, but sometimes I'm not around, like living in another country like I'm doing now. And so being able to have a watch that's kind of keeping an eye on her while I can't makes me have a certain sense of peace of mind. And now with this crash detection being introduced, that's another layer of monitoring of things that potentially I can't do and being there in the event of emergencies. Now, obviously Apple has said a jillion times over, they made it very clear. They were like, knock on wood, you never have to use this. We hope you never have to use this feature. But crash detection essentially works in the same way as fall detection, is with the new gyroscope and accelerometer. Holy crap, those words are so hard to say. Accelerometer and gyroscope. And then they're in the same sentence. It's terrible. It's terrible. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow. Unique, New York. New York is unique. Accelerometer, gyroscope. Accelerometer, gyroscope. The new tongue twister coming to a theater school near you. But now with the help of these two little thingamabobs inside the Series 8 Apple Watch, along with the software that they have and the years of testing that they've done, which, speaking of the years of testing point, they made a point to say like, yeah, we've been working on this for a couple of years and whatever. But then immediately this thought came to my head. And the thing that I thought of was, you know how there's like everybody and their mother is talking about an Apple car coming and like the rumors of the Apple car and whatever, which I don't know where anybody got this idea, but I would just love if somebody got this idea from seeing Apple do crash testing on cars. And like, we're in the middle of New Mexico in a field somewhere, and Apple is just ramming cars into poles, and some little like tech nerd climbs over the mountain and like sees them and is like, oh my gosh, it's Apple. That's Tim Cook. They're crashing cars. It must only mean one thing, Apple car. And then that's how the rumor was born. But in reality, they were just crashing cars to figure out if your phone could tell you that you crashed or not, or if your watch could tell you that you crashed or not, because yes, this feature is also gonna be on the iPhone 14s. That is just a really funny concept to me. And I hope that we never get an Apple car just so that could be true, because that would make my day. That'd be so funny. So yeah, hopefully just like fall detection, nobody ever has to use it. But that's what I love, is the fact that it's there just in case. I don't know how they know this. I'm actually just thinking of this now. They said that it only does crash detection, like that only works while you're driving. But what if you're a passenger? Because your phone knows you're driving because it's connected to the Bluetooth in your car. But would it work if you were a passenger? These are things that I assume we will be learning very soon, once people get these devices in their hands and they start testing them out in the real world. Next Apple Watch that we got was Apple Watch SE. Now the Apple Watch SE, if you've never heard of it, this is actually the second generation. So we're getting kind of like basic updates with things coming from the Series 8 into the SE, and it's your most base level Apple Watch. So if you have an older adult or a young child that you're trying to get an Apple Watch for, or you're somebody who just wants like essentially smartwatch features but Apple, and then like the health tracking stuff, it's the Apple Watch with no bells and whistles. Oh my god, wait, hold on, pause. I was gonna move on to the next Apple Watch, but I forgot the thing I'm the most excited about. I can't believe I almost forgot this. Okay, so something that Apple does at every event, and I'm assuming other tech companies do this too, but it always makes me laugh, is they talk about a feature of the new hardware as if it's a hardware feature, but it's actually a software feature. However, in this event, this feature I'm about to say, and like, just let me finish my thought. This feature, they actually said like, hey, this is gonna be coming out to Series 4 Apple Watch and later, so get excited. Like, they made it clear that it wasn't just a Series 8 thing. Like, they emphasized that it wasn't just a Series 8 thing, and that, my friends, low power mode is coming to the Apple Watch. We did it, Charlie. I have been realizing recently, one, that I indeed have a 4-year-old Apple Watch, so the battery life has been kind of, you know, it goes a lot faster than it once did. But I've been finding myself more often than I'd like to find myself in the middle of the city with a dead Apple Watch on my wrist, and that is just a large, heavy bracelet at that point. And I don't want that. So now that we have low power mode, it does essentially what the phone does, is that you turn on low power mode and then you get certain things that are not gonna be running in the background, kind of like that workout detection thing. That wouldn't be happening with low power mode on. But that's fine if that means my Apple Watch is gonna last me all day. I'll deal. I'll just start my own workouts. I'm just lazy and I forget, so there's that. And yes, it's on any Apple Watch Series 4 or later. Oh, and then the other actually exciting thing. Oh my, I'm so excited about this. I figured this out last night because I had watched obviously the Apple event, and my favorite thing about when we have an Apple event, no matter what it is they always come out with a new color array, a new color palette for accessories like the Apple Watch bands. And I love my Apple Watch bands and I love getting new colors for them. And I have to say, I'm kind of disappointed with the color options that they came out with this year. Like, I was definitely hoping for, you know, I don't even know what I was hoping for, but it's just very muted, I feel like. It's very boring. But the exciting thing with the braided solo loop, which is something that I've wanted since they freaking came out, but the problem is that I have really small wrists. I'm a large human being with teeny tiny little wrists. I don't know why, it don't make sense. Look, I can wrap my fingers all the way around my wrist. I wear a size 4 in the regular solo loop. So I don't have the tiniest, but they have 12 sizes for bands and I wear a size 4. That's bonkers to me. I went to go get a braided solo loop last year when they came out. I got the size 4 because that was the smallest size option that they had for the 44 millimeters, or now 45, but whatever. But it didn't freaking fit me. So this is a word to the wise that if you get the solo loop versus the braided solo loop, I have found that they fit differently. But the thing that makes me so happy is that they announced some new braided solo loops and I was just looking at them just to look at them. They came out with a really pretty like khaki, beige, sand, tree trunk, bark, I don't know, whatever. And I was like, that's really pretty. And I just like kind of went on there just to window shop and be like, only if I could wear the braided solo loop, but they haven't come out with smaller sizes for us with the larger watch faces. My life is so hard. And then I saw they did. There's now sizes 1, 2, and 3. I'm so excited. So your girl is gonna be getting a braided solo loop and I'm so excited because they're so pretty and they're so, they just look luxurious. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I know, I'm pretty stoked. We got temperature sensors, we got crash detection, we got new Apple Watch band colors, and more importantly, Apple Watch bands that fit this tiny wrist of mine. But that's not even, and low power mode. So much exciting stuff already, but we haven't even gotten to the big dog yet. We got a new Apple Watch. Remember when they first came out and it was Apple Watch and Apple Watch Sport and then Apple Watch Edition that was made of gold. And then they came out with Apple Watch Editions later and they were made of ceramic. But all of them were always just like the same. They were the same shape, just made of different materials. This time we have a brand new shape. We have a brand new set of features exclusive to this device. Like where do I even begin? So I was listening to the Waveform podcast and they were talking about how I guess there was like rumors about the idea of getting a Pro watch, but it wasn't going to be called Watch Pro because I guess like Samsung or OnePlus or somebody like that has the copyright on the term Watch Pro. And so they just kind of weren't sure. So they were like speculating ideas of names. I don't remember what they said, but what I guessed it was going to be was Apple Watch Explorer because I think that's a really good idea and it's not that. So anyway, moving on. So what is the name, you may ask? The new Apple Watch that was released is called the Apple Watch Ultra, which the name's cool. Like, I'm glad it wasn't Apple Watch Max. I'd hate that. So Apple Watch Ultra, cool. But like the things that I'm gonna tell you that it's designed for is really for people who, I don't know, like to explore. So I'm saying, Tim, if you wanna change it for next year, call me. So what is up with the Apple Watch Ultra? Okay, where do we even begin? So first of all, completely redesigned body. It just looks rugged. It looks like it's built tough, like it's built for tough. To me, it looks like it's like the Jeep of the Apple Watches. So it's made of titanium. It is a way more rugged design. And you'll see that not only are there new buttons on it, there is a redesign for the buttons that are on it. There's a lot of new things about it, new bands. So let's address first the look of it. So first of all, we have a flat display with the titanium going around the display. Because something that they mentioned in the keynote was like, if you're, doing rugged activities, that's the first place of impact that you're gonna get a shattered screen, which like, yeah, it totally is. Now, I just wanna say right now, see how beautifully rounded this is and how classy this is, and you can wear this like anytime, anywhere, works for any event. Yeah, so we like the rounded edges. So Apple, do not get any smart ideas when it comes to changing the display of the new Apple Watches to this flat business, because that works for that. Works great if you're climbing things or you're diving in things or you're being all rough and tumble. That's great, that's what the Ultra's for, but please just don't. If like in a year, the Apple Watch screen is flat like that, I'll be so mad. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, moving on. It's a really great display for the Ultra version. And remember that, Apple. So we have that, made of titanium. It's rugged, it is corrosion resistant, which is great for all of the water sports and ice sports and whatever activities that you wanna be doing with this thing strapped to your wrist, because it's a large hunk of something, let me tell you that. So if we took a look at the watch, obviously there's other things that are substantially different besides the screen. It's the digital crown that is more groovy and rugged. We've got protruding buttons. And that is because this watch is designed to be used with gloves, which I think is so smart. Another thing that's on it is we've got extra mics as well as a larger speaker. So that way, if you are using any sort of phone calling service or Siri or anything like that, not only can your watch hear you better when you're in like really windy or crazy conditions, but also you can hear what is coming out of your watch. Speaking of sounds coming out of your watch, we've got something that's crazy. There's a siren built into the watch, an 86 decibel siren, which I Googled it. The average car horn is about 107 or 110 decibels. decibels. So a sound that is nearly as loud as a car horn can come out of the little computer tied to your wrist. Isn't that insane? Yes, it is absolutely insane. And it's designed with the idea in mind that if, let's say, you are out doing your, I don't know, exploring, maybe you're out in the wilderness and you find yourself getting lost and you need to like, yoo-hoo, for help, you can use your watch to do that. It has a special little pattern so that way it doesn't just sound like a bird chirping or something like that. So if anybody hears it, they can kind of find you and know that it's somebody who's looking for help. Now, how do you activate that siren, you may be asking your computer screen right now? Well, viewer, you activate it using the action button, a new button exclusive to the Apple Watch Ultra. And what this does is just like anything. One of the things that it does is it activates the siren. So if you're in the place where you need to be using it, boop, now you got a siren going off. But the way that they make it seem is that it's either programmable / changes function per app that you're in. I don't entirely know for sure. Now, another thing I did not know about all these activities is that some people would go on like marathons or triathlons that last like a full day or something insane. Essentially, they were like, you need a lot of battery life because if you're gonna go on a hike for like multiple days, which I'm like, that blows my mind, but like, okay. But like, let's say you're going adventuring for a couple of days, you need battery life to be able to, you know, support that, right? Well, the Apple Watch Ultra comes with a 36-hour battery life, so 3 days worth. Also, they were very mysterious about this, and it doesn't seem necessarily like it's gonna be a low power mode, so I don't know what the deal is with this thing. But in the fall, a new feature is gonna come out to where if you have the Apple Watch Ultra, you can potentially get 60 hours of battery life. I don't know. We don't know. They literally were just like, and in the future, you can get 60 hours of battery life. So we'll see what that is. But 36 hours, that's a pretty darn good place to start if you ask me. So there's a lot of like above ground activities you could be doing with the Apple Watch Ultra, but something else you can do is not underground. Underground is the wrong way to put that. Below sea level. That doesn't sound as good. You can be diving with this thing, and this thing could be your dive computer. Now, I don't scuba, nor have I ever scuba'd, but I know enough from just like pop culture and media that if you are doing any sort of deep sea diving, you need some sort of technology with you to make sure you don't hurt yourself and become like, you know, a Prince Eric statue under the sea. And so they partnered with this company that I cannot remember the name of, who does like dive stuff and makes dive apps and computers and all these things to essentially like turn your Apple Watch into this really high-tech dive computer on your wrist. So it will tell you like how deep you're going, if you're descending too fast. Also like the compass is, that's another thing, upgraded compass all around, because I feel like that's a given. But then like a fancy compass with your thing, and then I guess there's modes when you're diving to like not come up too fast, because then you'll also hurt yourself. So like giving yourself that, and then you can like track stuff while you're underwater. It just seems really cool, and honestly, I've never wanted to scuba dive in my life before, but now I just want to do it, and I want to get the Apple Watch Ultra to do it with, because it seems really freaking cool. There's so much that I'm like missing. It is a little tiny form factor jam-packed with a lot of power. That is my chaotic explanation of the Apple Watch Ultra. There are also 3 different bands that you can get for it: the Ocean Band, the Alpine Loop, and the Trail Loop, which, okay, so this display is 49 millimeters, and so it's bigger than any current Apple Watch. So I understand why those watch bands wouldn't fit on a current Apple Watch. Also because the whole thing of like, well, if you're gonna be needing the crazy band, you should probably get the crazy computer to go with it so it works properly. But as somebody who almost lost their Apple Watch to the ocean in Greece, that Ocean Band looked really appealing. But also I know that if I just wore a solo loop, it would do the same thing for me and like what I'm doing. I was just jumping off rocks into the ocean. I wasn't like scuba diving with sharks. So I assume that they're not going to introduce the other band options for other watches in the future, because then perhaps the consumer might start to think, why do I need to get the fancy Apple Watch when I could just get the fancy Apple Watch band? I don't know. So I was just dumb, and I was wearing my sport loop, and then I jumped off a rock that was like 30 feet in the air into the water, and then I realized that my watch was hanging on by a single pin. So that was my own fault. The Apple Watch Ultra is $799, and I just gotta say, I was thinking about this while watching the event. I feel like anybody who does these types of activities like marathoning or triathloning or scuba diving or climbing the sand dunes or cold winter mountains, I feel feel like has an Apple Watch Ultra budget. Like, I don't think anybody who's seriously in the market for an Apple Watch Ultra will have any issues with the price, especially considering the technology that's in it. It is just like designed for the adventurer. And if you've ever been inside an REI and looked at a price tag on like anything, you would know that the people doing these sorts of activities definitely have an Ultra wallet. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It is very not cheap. So I feel like $800 for this like insane exploration, crazy computer watch thing, I feel like it's reasonable, gotta be honest. Or at least matches the budgets of the people who are looking to purchase them, if you know what I mean.
Okay, in case you're wondering where the section about the AirPods Pro is, do you see what's in my ears? Yeah, it's the AirPods Pro 2nd generations, and I decided to cut that section out of this video because I just uploaded a unboxing and first impression of the AirPods 2nd generation. So if you want to know about the AirPods 2 as well as my thoughts on using it after a day, check that video out in the link right below the like button, but figured I'd save the time here, so go watch that if you're curious.
That's everything that was in the first half of the event, and we still haven't even talked about the iPhone 14 lineup. You thought this was jam-packed? Wait for the iPhone 14. Now, I do have to say, I think the heavy hitter in this whole event, there's like one particular thing with the iPhone. I'm not gonna tell you have to go watch the video, but I really think the Ultra was the thing that was like the big, like, it was the big dog at this event because it was completely unlike anything that we've seen before. I'm really excited to see what people think about it, and I'm excited to go into the store and get my hands on it and just kind of like test it out and see what it looks like in person. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be a trip. But thank you so much for hanging out with me and letting me share my excitement with you. And of course, before I go, I just have to say a real quick thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. These beautiful, lovely people are the top tier patrons on my Patreon. So if you want to become one of them and get your name permanently tattooed on the end of all of my videos, you can go to patreon.com/Annelies. Thank you so much to all of my top tier patrons and all of my patrons of past, present, and future for supporting me in this channel and this thing that I love. Anyways, that is it for me. Stay beautiful, have a marvelous day, and I will see you, hopefully, in the next one. Bye!